Generation-wide conservative show. I'm glad that you could join me today. Listen, this half hour is brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Now, if you're not familiar with Patriot Mobile, I would encourage you to check them out right now. Unlike other major cell phone carriers out there, they do not donate to causes that you do not agree with. Things like Planned Parenthood. What you will find them donating to is organizations that are conservative-led, like the Heritage Foundation, the NRA, and the Alliance Defending Freedom. With cell phone plans starting as low as $25 a month, how can you actually go wrong with that? You can bring your own cell phone over, or you can actually buy one of their own cell phones on their website. To get more information about that, all you have to do is go to call 1-800-PATRIOT, A-PATRIOT, 1-800-A-PATRIOT, use the code Mojo50. Or you can visit patriotmobile.com/Mojo50 to waive your activation fee. Listen, we will not be silent anymore. Join me and thousands of Americans as we switch to Patriot Mobile today and let freedom ring. This half hour is also brought to you by Ministalgia. Mother's Day is not that far away, and Ministalgia has put together an awesome Mother's Day crate for her, for that mother in your life, whether that's your own mother, your wife who's a mother, your grandmother even, for crying out loud. She will enjoy a maple syrup in that basket or that crate, which is rich and naturally sweet flavor, full of healthy trace minerals, accompanied by their wild rice pancake mix for a perfect breakfast. They also have a hazelnut honey that you can put onto breads or in hot cereals, tea, or even coffee. Listen to this one. How about this blueberry jam that they include? It's great on bread, and they say it's actually pretty good on ice cream as well, which is pretty crazy to me, but I'd be willing to try it. And just for her, along with all that, she'll also enjoy a pure soy candle, which is hand-poured, lead and dye-free, with a fragrance to relax and soothe. You can actually save 10% on this Mother's Day crate or any item in the cart when you use the promo code MOM10. Orders must be received by Sunday, May 5th. That's coming up next week, to guarantee delivery for Mother's Day. Time flies, don't wait. Get your gift order today and remember to use promo code MOM10. All right, again, thank you for joining us on the Generation Y Conservative Show. Again, if you're not following along with me on Facebook, I would encourage you to do that. Just search for the Generation Y Conservative, where you can see where I post the latest articles that we're interested in, typically things that we talk about on the show. Also, the show itself gets posted there, along with other clips, including collaborations like you'll see later on with Relic Hunter Firing Line for the gun spotlights, and a couple other things as well that we'll be working on over the summer. You can also follow me on Twitter at GenYConservative without the E on the end. And more importantly than any of those, go to YouTube and search for the Generation Y Conservative. I believe it's /GenYConservative. And subscribe to the channel there, because it's really important for us to show the Google company and YouTube, which is owned by Google and everything, these organizations, that we won't be silent anymore. And I'll be real honest with you, when you search for the Generation Y Conservative, even when you click on the filter out channels, I still have a hard time showing up for a lot of people. So it just goes to show you that their algorithms are really trying to keep people away from the content that conservatives like myself provide. I would encourage you to go over there and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you know when we publish content like the show itself, each individual segment, as well as gun spotlight reviews and movie reviews as well. Speaking of movie reviews, the Avengers Endgame just came out last night, and it's already starting to just absolutely demolish box office records, and will continue to do so throughout the weekend. And I'm really excited to see it. I will have a review coming up on that as soon as possible, but I have not had the opportunity to go see it. So we will talk more about that in the coming week here. We should have a review by next weekend. But listen, let's get into some kind of potpourri topics here. According to the Blaze here, it says high school newspaper wages First Amendment battle with administrators over a story about a student working in the porn industry. Pretty crazy story, and I'm trying to figure out where I fall on this as a homeschooling parent myself that pulled their kids out of school because of the ridiculousness that goes on with Common Core and everything else behind it, and especially the indoctrination of students. But it says here, students and administrators at Bear Creek High School in Stockton, California. So this is a controversy in California, which takes a lot to do, unless you're a conservative. They're squaring off on whether a high school newspaper should run a story on an 18-year-old student who works in the porn industry. Students and the journalism teacher who run the paper are claiming that free speech is the issue, but the administration is more concerned that the feature is simply inappropriate for students. Think about that for a second while we go on here, because that's going to be the question of the day for you. According to this KOVR TV, Kathy Dufell, the teacher behind the school's Bruin Voice, believes that free speech should be the priority. She said, when you're on the side of free speech, you will never lose. The administration sent a letter to her in April threatening that she could be subject to termination if the story isn't sent to the administration for prior approval before the publication. She said that she opened it up and read it and then cried. We believe that this student has every right to tell her story legally and that we have every right to tell it. She said, I think a lot of people assume that she's just the porn star, but the story is actually giving her a personality. Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you want to give a porn star a personality? I think a lot of porn stars actually have a lot of personality. They take on the personality of a pizza delivery person or a babysitter or a cheerleader. There's multiple personalities that they typically take on. In a statement provided to the outlet, the school district itself said that the district supports the rights of our students to have freedom of speech. The district has not censored nor stopped the publication of the Bruin Voice or any article originally scheduled to be published on April 23rd, which is now scheduled for May 3rd. The district is legally required to ensure that publications do not, and listen to this, violate Educational Code Section 48907. This law requires districts to prevent the publication of obscenity, defamation, and incitement. It also prohibits the publication of content that fails to meet the professional standards of English and journalism. So if the standards are upheld, right, is there any problem with it? And when it comes to the three other things here, does it contain any obscenity? Well, it can be looked through. I mean, we're talking about a profession that is obscene. So is the school district right on that? Defamation, are they ruining this person's character, right? If it's the student herself telling the story, is it really defamation? And incitement, what is it inciting to do? The only thing I can come up with in regards to incitement is other students finding out about the profession of their fellow student in the high school and hitting on her a lot more, right? So does it fall under any of that? So the school is basically arguing on that side of the code for educational purposes. On the other side, you have a free speech issue, right? In which case, I'm going to fall constitutionally on that side of the newspaper. But at the same time, is that really what our students are going to school for, is to read material like this? Now, on the other side of the argument, you have the fact that not everyone has to pick up that article and actually read it, right? So it's a very complicated issue, I believe. And should the school run it? I'll leave that to you guys. Let me know in the comments section on my Facebook page under the show video itself, or on the YouTube channel, on what you guys think about that as well. An Uber driver says that says that a driver who flat out refused to take a woman to a clinic for an abortion was fired for reasons of safety. An unnamed Uber driver reportedly dropped a 20-year-old woman off on the side of the road when he found out that she was headed to an abortion clinic for an abortion, obviously. The company said that the unnamed driver violated safety rules in dropping the female passenger off at a place other than her destination. Our community guidelines clearly lay out safety as a top priority, and any actions that threaten the safety of drivers and rider will be investigated. Dropping someone off in the middle of nowhere threatens someone's safety. The New York woman who originally shared her account of the event on Reddit said that her driver seemed to have a hunch that she was headed to an abortion clinic when he came to pick her up. My appointment was at 11:30 a.m., so at 9:58 a.m., my Uber driver arrived, and he immediately seemed uncomfortable. After about 5 minutes in the car, he asked, "Are we going to a Planned Parenthood?" I said no, because we weren't, but it set off alarm bells that he would even ask that. The destination I put in was just the name of the doctor and the address of the clinic, where there was nothing that would suggest it was an abortion clinic. After a few more minutes, he asked, "Are we going to an abortion clinic?" I was shocked. I had no idea what to say, so I just remained quiet. He then said, "I know it's none of my business, but," and proceeded to mention something about his wife being pregnant, how awful that procedure was, and proceeded to explain it in graphic detail, and that there is so much they don't tell you. Okay, well, he's right about that. I'm going to take both sides on this case. In regards to the safety issue for Uber, I can understand that. He should have found a safe place to drop her off and maybe even set up another Uber driver to pick her up and get her to her destination. But, as a responsibility of picking her up in the first place. But, you're basically an independent contractor for Uber, working on their behalf under their rules and everything, so you have to follow their rules. But as an independent contractor, you should be able to pick up anyone that you want to, and defer on picking up anyone that you don't want to drive around, okay? So I think that both things come to play here, and I just think that this is a deeper issue than they kind of originally let on. There's certainly policy rules that you have to go by, but then there's also, as an independent contractor, as a cake baker or anything else, so if you're participating in something that violates the freedom that you have of thought, then the freedom of consciousness, should you be forced to have to do these types of things? That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on that as well. Aunt Becky on Full House was one of the parents that were caught up in the whole college scandal of paying off to get their kids into college. And now her and her husband, the guy behind Stussy brand, say that they didn't realize that what they were doing was illegal, according to a source. Now, this is a pretty interesting case, and I've been kind of making this point for a while. What are the standards for getting into any type of private college, right? Even community college, you have to be accepted, and they have to go by, population of how many people they can accept at a given time. They typically are saying that they're looking into the grades of the individuals that are coming into the college setting, and there's other athletic factors, scholarship factors, grant factors, and everything that go into it. But when you're actually talking about a private college experience, what did they do that was illegal? That's what I'm trying to figure out. You could talk about them bribing and everything to get their own kids into the school, into the college of their choice. But in the end, who cares? The college itself, the university, is a business. They're not there just to educate students. If they were there to do that, they would be doing it for free. The main goal is to provide a quality education at a cost. You have to, in order to receive that quality education, pay through the nose in tuition to be able to do that. If these parents that are caught up in the scandal were not only paying tuition fees, but also paying extra to get their kids involved, then as a business, providing that service to them and nothing more, where's the scandal behind that? I just don't understand that. What are they doing here that's actually illegal? It unethical? Maybe you could certainly make that case. I mean, it's sad that someone like Lori Loughlin here would be able to get her kids in over someone that's more exceptional with their student abilities and their grades and everything, especially considering the fact that some of these universities have been getting caught up in scandals themselves of limiting the amount of Asian American students that they're letting into the school district, showing racist tendencies in their enrollment process. But in this case here, if it's a university that's set up to make money, and that's exactly what they're doing in this case, then where exactly is the problem? Let's take a look at what he had to say, the founder of Home Depot, and his views on socialism right now.
Hi, everyone. I want to start by saying something politically incorrect. I love America. I do. I love America because it's the greatest country in the world. I think there are two big reasons why this country is so great. The first is our Constitution, which guarantees our freedom of speech and expression. The second is our free market system. The free market system has been the biggest creator of wealth and prosperity the world has ever known, lifting billions of people out of poverty, and far more superior than any government program could ever be. The free market is the tool that allows many to reach out and grab hold of the American dream. When I co-founded the Home Depot in 1979, I'd just been fired and I was broke. There's no other country in the world that has a system where someone under these circumstances could turn a simple idea and hard work into a company that employs more than 400,000 people and has created thousands of successful millionaires. While I'm no longer in the management of the Home Depot, I still believe in the free market enterprise system that helped build it. That's why it pains me to see people in this country glorifying socialism. Young people especially have been indoctrinated into believing that free enterprise is immoral because it enriches the greedy and depresses the poor. Even the word capitalism is not politically correct to use. But the reality is that the free market system has created the biggest middle-class population in the world. And while some may say socialism is well-intentioned, the fact is it robs people of their independence, their dignity, and their finances, leading to government dependence, suppression of ideas, and lower standards of living for those under its thumb. Free enterprise just doesn't create an environment where individuals have the opportunity to prosper, but makes charitable giving possible in the first place. It's not a random occurrence that Americans are the most charitable people in the world. It's a result of a hard work, entrepreneurship, and yes, a free market system. Because in order to give money, you need to make money. It's not an evil concept. In the last 15 years, I've donated to causes that have included medical research, autism research, advocacy for veterans causes, and even building the Georgia Aquarium. Call it whatever you like, free market, free enterprise, or even capitalism. I don't care, as long as you understand that these free market ideas have made giving back in these big ways possible. One of my favorite causes is the Job Creators Network, a group I founded to champion these free market ideals. Efforts like these are more important now than ever as support behind socialism continues to swell in our urban areas and academia, and even in the halls of Congress. I encourage you to help us in this fight.
Okay, so that was actually Bernie Marcus who started up Home Depot originally, which the behemoth that that's become. Imagine starting up a little hardware store and building it into an empire like that. You know, we so often see those on the left and these progressives bemoaning and just belittling and demeaning those that are rich today as evil capitalists and everything, but they never recognize and acknowledge the work that was put into getting to where these people have gotten to today. They never acknowledge the fact that these individuals that are now millionaires or billionaires have employed thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people over the span of so many decades and provided job security for people and their families and have started career paths with that. You know, you can look back at any person who has a great job today that may have gotten a good start within an industry like Home Depot or McDonald's or anything like that. We think of these things as low-wage jobs, but they are building skill sets for you to enter into a workforce as an adult. I would consider something like McDonald's as an entry-level position, unless you're in the management side of things, that sets you up with people skills, interpersonal skills, and organizational skills, and how to deal with the levels of management and everything. And when you're in high school or you're going to college and you have these entry-level jobs, you know, we're talking about the fact that these types of jobs can actually pay for some students work to get their tuition paid by doing these jobs while they're going to school. Some of them do it for extra side fund money while they're growing up. Either way, it's an instilling a work ethic into these entry-level people to be able to do further things. Now, Home Depot, I think, maybe falls on the further end of an entry-level job, unless you're getting up again into the management level. But I think it is a more organized corporate structure, despite it being a hardware store and everything. But it's obviously gotten to a point now where across the country, it provides hundreds of thousands of jobs and has so in the past that have led to big careers for people. I mean, think about the amount of contractors that have come out of Home Depot settings where they get used to that kind of knowledge of the products and everything. It's just really interesting, but that's getting off topic. What we're talking about here with Bernie Marcus is Bernie Marcus versus Bernie Sanders, right? The socialist model versus the capitalist model. And Bernie here is talking about how we have become a society of demonizing the capitalist system, the free market enterprise and everything. And he gives very clear examples that are just cut and dry as far as how our society works as a capitalist society versus socialist societies, where they would tell you to give basically the majority of your money over to the government for the government to decide what is best for society instead of you as an individual, as we the people decide what is best for our society. Using these free market principles and donating freely through charity has proven to be that we as Americans donate more of our money than any other country out there towards charitable causes. And we do that freely. We are not forced to do that. We're not forced by a gun to give our money to organizations that we disagree with. We decide as Americans, as we the people, where our money should be going and the causes that we support and the people that we're trying to help. The organizations like Habitat for Humanity that go in and build homes again for people that are in distress. You have charitable organizations within churches and other religious institutions themselves that have sent more financial and actual physical aid within people that volunteer down to places like Haiti after the earthquake or anywhere else around the world with a natural disaster than our own government gives in aid to those places. And the only way that we can actually do that is by having a free market society that encourages us to not be lazy, get off our rear ends, get out there and work and make that money. Okay? And money is an incentive. And it's famously said in Atlas Shrugged, the book, that money is the root of all evil. But then Henry Reardon, the metal guy, right? The steel manufacturer, goes on a 15 to 20 page rant in a speech at a party talking about that money isn't the root of all evil. It's greed of money that's the root of all evil. That money is a symbolic, physical piece of paper that represents the blood, sweat, and tears that someone has poured their time and effort into through working to earn. And that physical representation is then passed on to another person as a physical representation of their hard-earned work and time to then buy a product or service that they're providing. Money itself, despite what the left says, is not an evil thing. We pursue money, and the pursuit can sometimes get evil. You can have crony capitalists that go on different things. But I would argue that a socialist government is actually a crony government that values the money even more so than the people themselves, because they just want to take, and figure out where they feel the money should go instead of the citizens themselves. And it's just absolutely demoralizing to a society that takes all the money and distributes it to all the people in an equal amount, in an equal way for an equal outcome instead of opportunity. And you have people that are then left with being unmotivated to get out there and work as hard as others to provide to that society, which then demoralizes those that are working hard, and the harder they work, the less they see, because the more their money goes to other individuals. So I think it's a really great organization, this Job Creators Network. They happen to be also the ones that were trolling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with that billboard in Times Square, mocking her for getting rid of Amazon out of the city or discouraging that. So when we get back, we're going to talk, I wanted to follow up and get a little bit further in with Joe Rogan on his podcast, what he had with the Adam Ruins Everything guy, Adam, and talk about their battle with transgender ideas and everything. And we also have a lot more to get into. So stay tuned after these commercials.